Mark Dorosin is an associate professor of law and director of legal clinics and field placements at FAMU Law. He has also been a civil rights lawyer for over 25 years. Joining us now on Legal Connections is Mark Dorosin. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Okay, so I have a friend who recently said something that I'm going to repeat this morning, and it's your story is not what happened, but what happened because of what happened. So why are you an attorney? When did you decide to be an attorney, and why?
I decided to become an attorney after, I went to college thinking I was going to become an attorney in the 80s, thinking I was going to go to law school. And then in college, everyone I knew that was going to law school was going to Wall Street, was going for the big money. And I just didn't want to do that. And I thought that's what the law is, so that's not for me. I wanted to do something that I believed would make a positive impact in the lives of other people. So I became a high school teacher, actually. So I taught in a rural high school in North Carolina, and very much enjoyed being a teacher, but in that context really saw firsthand, up close, institutionalized race discrimination and how it was built into the structure of the educational system. And so while I felt like I was doing a good job in the classroom, I realized there were much bigger issues that needed to be addressed, and so said at that point, you know what, I think I am going to go to law school. I think that I can use that experience and that training to really make a broader impact. So I went to law school with the intent of becoming a civil rights lawyer. You
had this passion, you went to school, and then you immediately started working in civil rights?
I did. I really didn't know what to do or how to do it, and I was just lucky enough. I went to the University of North Carolina, and there was a case going on, a civil rights case. A black woman police officer who worked for the university police department was suing over discrimination, failing to be promoted, workplace harassment. And so I reached out to the lawyer who was representing her and said, can I just come and volunteer in your office? I want to be a civil rights lawyer. I'd like to learn how to do this. And he had a solo practice, and he said, sure. So I started volunteering there in my second year of law school, just continued working with him. And then when it got time to graduate, he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I guess I'm going to do what you did, just open my own civil rights practice. And he said, oh, that's silly. Why don't you just join me and we'll be partners? So I like to say I was the first person in my class to make partner.
Oh, wow.
And also the lowest paid.
So fast forward to your time now at FAMU Law. Tell us about your role there in the clinic and field placement. What are you doing?
So I worked as a civil rights lawyer for almost 30 years in North Carolina. And throughout that time, I had a lot of mentors, a lot of people supporting me, teaching me while I was coming up. And one of the things they always emphasized was the importance of passing it on. So when the opportunity came at FAMU particularly to work in the clinical program, I jumped at the chance, really wanted to now spend all my time helping raise the next generation of civil rights lawyers. So at the clinic and field placement is the part of the law school where students get what we call the experiential education. That is, they take what they learned in the classroom and they actually represent clients or work directly with lawyers in the field, seeing how the practice of law actually takes place. And so we have a guardian ad litem clinic where the students represent children who are caught up in the legal system because of neglect or dependency. We have a mediation clinic where students actually can learn to become certified county mediators. And then we now have the economic justice clinic where students can represent small businesses, folks who want to start small businesses, and nonprofits that are working in the community.
Wow. And you have made the statement about civil rights. What was, I don't want to misquote you.
Well, I like to tell students all the time that all law is civil rights law. So whether you're doing any of that work in the clinic, or whether you're doing contract work, or whether your interest is intellectual property, because of the role law has played in really cementing the institutional inequities, all of us as lawyers can play a role in undoing those inequities.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else you want to add?
I do want to just talk about one project we've got going now through the clinical program. It's an heirs property project where students are working with community-based organizations and pro bono lawyers to help black families address fractured ownership of their land. When people die without a will, the ownership of the property gets divided among all the heirs.
Right.
And when property is owned like that, it's very hard for families to realize the value of that asset. And so we know that property ownership is one of the key tools in building wealth in America. And so this heirs property project is helping families resolve those title issues so they can see the value of that asset. And it's really exciting work, and students are fired up about it.
Wow, it sounds outstanding. Thank you so much for taking the time to share those things that we probably, some of us, it didn't even cross our minds about how we can add value and pass it on. So, and thank you for what you're doing for the students.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Yes, awesome. Mark Dorosin brings 30 years of civil rights law experience to FAMU Law as he manages a clinic and field placement programs. These programs offer firsthand legal experience to students. There's more Legal Connections coming up.